Hey Nathan,
Hey Schneider, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
Doing great.
Oh, hey, Nathan.
Hey Doug, how are you?
Good, good. Hey, would you have any objection to me sitting in next week to for the rest of the AWS?
Are you not TAing for me next week?
I'm not next week. I'm just
Ah,
this week.
absolutely no issue.
Okay, I'll check with Latonia. I believe she's TAing. I'll make sure it's okay with her as well.
Yeah, if anything, I'd appreciate the extra eyes.
Great. Yeah, because since the free tier of Heroku went away, I no longer have any deploy options. So this material is very interesting to me. I have like static stuff up, but no backends.
Right. Well, I can't say that you won't be paying. The free tier, uh, the free tier gets you away with like 12 months, I think, of EC2 instances. After that, you're going to be paying a little bit. Like I'm for my stuff, I'm constantly running a T2 micro. So my cost monthly hovers around like $3.
Oh,
So
really?
it's very low, but to say that like you wouldn't be paying anything at all is after 12 months, you kind of have to chip in a couple bucks.
Sure, sure. So, and a question about price. Like I know one of the things with Heroku was they have a low cost here, but they
Yeah.
charge per app. And
Yeah.
my goal would be to build lots of little apps like tic-tac-toe and hangman and things just to get practice with deploying the back end, which
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to pay for every one of those because it's not going to be using any bandwidth or storage space. So,
Right.
so my question is with AWS, is it like storage space and bandwidth, or is it per project cost?
I mean, that's the nice thing about AWS is you have full control. Like AWS offers so many, like AWS offers so many different products, ranging from here's the server, you could do whatever you want with it, to here is like a Kubernetes cluster, and you can schedule as many binaries to run on an instance as you want, to what we're going to use, which is Elastic Beanstalk, where it's kind of like Heroku, in that you are dealing with apps, but you can schedule where you want them to run and how many computers you want to run. So like with Heroku, you're kind of locked, like you said, you're kind of locked into this pricing model per app, which is kind of annoying.
I mean, it's
With
great if you've got
AWS,
a big app with lots of users,
yeah. In
but
fact, back when I was working for some startups, startups love it exactly for that reason. Like they are typically running one app, and so that pricing model makes sense for them. So there are definitely some successful high traffic businesses that do well on Heroku. But with AWS, I mean, you've got like infinite options. Like there, if you don't like a certain pricing model or a certain way that something's worked, there's probably another AWS product that will do what you want it to. So.
right. Well, I see that as both a plus and a minus. Lots of options are great, but it can also be daunting.
Right, which is why you need somebody to just kind of wade through the, pardon my language, but wade through the bullshit and tell you which one to use. Like, because there's so many options that kind of knowing which ones work well and which ones don't. Yeah, it's a really big ecosystem. That's for sure.
Hmm. Well, you'll wait us through the bogging stuff.
Yeah, and job security. If this is the kind of stuff that you're into, I mean, there's demand for people that are willing to wade through the bullshit, if you will. On the other extreme, on very, very other extreme, there's here in Montana, I live in the capital, and the government actually operates certain data centers here. And you can go and fill out a piece of paper saying, you know, I want rack space in this data center. And I think it's like $50 a month, maybe, for like a 1U rack in a government data center. So on the other end of the spectrum, you can go and get hardware and plug it in yourself into a rack and run it your own, run it all by yourself. You know, they'll give you an Ethernet cable. They'll do basic tasks like rotate hard drives for you, push the restart button for you. But other than that, like if you want to get real bare bones, you can run your own physical infrastructure, which is it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I do find all that stuff interesting, but the point I'm at right now, I want to write code.
Yeah.
And I just want to have the
enough.
stuff in place for me to put my code up there.
That's fair enough. Yeah. Cool. All right. So so we did quite a bit yesterday. We did some refresh recollection of where we got to with Git in week 6, 7. Kind of dusted off GitHub desktop, figured out how all that stuff worked again. Then we also, at the end of class, got our AWS accounts set up, including getting a user made for me so I can help troubleshoot any issues that might pop up. And that's kind of where we left off. Oh, and we added MFA to our accounts to just make sure that that if anybody was to try to, if anybody were to get our password, they would also need to have the one-time password as well, which makes a big difference in terms of security. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Oh, but before I jump right in, does anybody have any questions from last time we talked?
I have a question, Nathan. So
Yeah, go right ahead.
I loaded my capstone backend and front end, but I did load it with node modules, which made like 30,000 files in it. So I don't know, can I delete it or so?
So did you? So once you found out that you had all the node modules, did you end up committing and pushing anyways?
I did it.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, no big deal. So all we need to do is just delete them out of Git.
Okay.
Let me share my screen first, and then we'll switch over to you here in a second. So just as a reminder, we have this website cohort for checking up on your progress and seeing where things are at. I'm going to Am I getting rate limited? Yes. Oh, okay. This would normally show all of the nice green boxes in progress, but unfortunately, GitHub is rate limiting my API calls. So, all right, Capstone backend. Let's see. So I don't see anything on the back end.
Oh, it's not load. Okay, so.
And then on the front end, I don't see any.
Okay.
Oops, sorry, that's the blog. Let me jump over to the Capstone front end.
It seems like I didn't commit it yet, so maybe I can delete it now then.
Yeah, so let me stop sharing and switch over to you. Oh yeah, here we go. 37,079 files changed. So the easiest way I think to do this is to go and nuke those node modules. So let's go do that. Go up to the top where the top menu bar, the top of your screen, and click on repository.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Right here. Up at the top of your screen right here.
Oh,
Yep, and then click show in Finder. And wherever that popped up. Yeah, destroy this. Oops. Yeah, destroy that. Nice. All right, let's click back to GitHub desktop.
so can I do it for my backend as well? So one second. Sorry.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. And then
that-
if you click over here, GitHub should be smart enough to, yeah, now we're down to a more reasonable 33.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, while we're here, go ahead, get that initial upload. Give it a commit message and like, this is my initial upload, or these are my first set of files. Select one or more files. Oh, hit that checkbox right there. Usually all that stuff is checked, but maybe because we dropped out the node modules, it reset itself. Cool. And then while I've got you, switch over to the back end. Yep. Switch over to back end. Cool. This looks great. Push this up.
Sure. Thank you. Me too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Other people, other folks that have questions, or Jennifer?
Yeah, I was just curious. I did a lot of put a lot of my projects onto GitHub today.
Mhm.
And I think it went fairly well, but then every once in a while I would get a message saying something to the effect of no, I don't remember what the message was, but it wouldn't let me do it directly. It would say, if you haven't done this before, you can do it this way, this way, this way, or this way. And I was really confused by that. So I just did it all over again with a different file name, and then it would work. So I've got some code here.
We are looking at a screen that has Canvas infrastructure on it.
Yeah, I'm just getting it minimized so I can pull it over.
Oh, okay.
So then there's some code that doesn't have anything in it, which was really scary at first. Let's see. So this one, no. I guess my question is how to delete repositories that are empty.
So what's a repository that you want to delete?
Calculator for one.
Okay, let's click on calculator, and then from calculator, you should be able to, from calculator, click on settings up there in the top right.
Here.
This right here.
Oh, okay.
Then scroll down to the very, very bottom. Very, very bottom. Scary zone. Delete this repository.
Okay.
And then you just can copy paste that into the box, and that will. That because I think there is like a tiny white space right here.
Thank you.
And I think there's a tiny white space there. There, nice.
Oh, I don't know my password. I'll have to look it up.
Okay,
Thank you so much. I'll do that with a couple others.
sure. Anybody else having trouble making capstone repos, getting their capstone code uploaded? All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it then. I'll share my screen. All right, can everybody see the slides? Great. All right. So this is where we ended last time. The one thing that I didn't mention before was don't be afraid to experiment with AWS. For example, I just want to show the pricing page for EC2 real quick. AWS EC2 pricing. This is the stuff that gets a little bit scary with AWS because this is where you can sink the most money. Don't hold me to that. There's actually a lot of ways that you could sink money into AWS, but here we go, the on-demand page. But this is kind of one of the places where you can sink a bit of money in, and the reason why is you can see there are some servers here, like for example, this 448 core server goes for about $100 an hour. So it would take some intentional button presses on your end to seek out this instance and to rent it. But these are just some of the various types of computers that you could rent from AWS. But when I say don't be afraid to experiment, there's more than just these absurdly expensive computers. For example, if we look on kind of the cheaper end of the spectrum, for only a penny an hour, you can spin up a T2 micro. So don't be afraid to check out some of the different server types that AWS has available. And if you want to experiment with stuff, just Google the pricing for it. Google the pricing for whatever AWS product you're interested in checking out. Just Google the pricing and sort of get an idea of how much it would be to rent whatever it is you're interested in. A lot of this stuff is really not too expensive, so long as you remember to shut these things down when you're done experimenting with them. And again, I strongly recommend you coming in here and checking out the links to both of these pages. They're on the billing section of AWS, and they let you set alerts for whatever kind of budget you might have. But as far as what we're going to do over the next couple of weeks, this is really the bill of materials that we're going to spin up for the capstone demos. We're going to spin up exactly one EC2 instance, so exactly one server to run our backend code. We're also going to spin up a database. This is called RDS is the name of the AWS product that manages relational databases on AWS. We're also going to spin up a load balancer. A load balancer is just a piece of technology that sits in front of the internet and your application. So we're going to stand up one of those. We're also going to get an S3 bucket. We're going to do that today. And then we're going to get roughly 3 SSL certificates, which we'll talk about today. We'll also create a Cloudfront distribution. Cloudfront is a product that will take our front-end code and distribute it to all 31 geographical regions. And then we're also going to spin up an Elastic Beanstalk environment. Now, this is probably like word soup to everybody, and I'm not expecting you to retain, or there will be no quiz on this at the end. This is just some of the terminology that we're going to start getting comfortable with in AWS. We're going to end up spinning up almost all of this infrastructure. And like I said earlier, we're going to run up a bill of around $5 total, including what we get for free with the free tier. I suspect that this will actually be much lower, but I'm saying $5 because that's how much I spent when I practiced all of this. And if you weren't using the free tier, I would guess that this exercise would put us at around $14 a month. After we get done with the capstone demo, it's really up to you how you want to use this stuff. So just be aware of that. I'll end up sending out reminders. So all of the things that we spin up here, I'll make sure to send out reminders to everyone to make sure that, if you want to continue running this stuff, you have that choice, obviously. But if you don't, the reminder will be to shut it down if you no longer want it. Any questions?
What's the general difference between these and the other ones that you showed us?
Yeah, the difference here is really specifications. So our backend code, we're going to run on a T2 micro. If we go and look back over here, we can see that a T2 micro is an instance type, and it has roughly one CPU core and around 1 GB of RAM. If we were to say do like a C4 large, the price obviously goes up from being around a penny an hour to a dime an hour, but that buys us 2 CPU cores and roughly 4 times the amount of memory. So all of the things that I've showed here, like T2 micro, DBT3 micro, these are specifications for different server types. Bigger businesses are going to have much larger computers, or they might just have a ton of really small computers. But in our case, we're going to stick to the micro class because the micro class, you get a lot of free credits out of that free tier by using those, by choosing those. Good question.
Thank you.
All right. So what are we doing today? So today we're going to try to accomplish 2 things. We're going to try to deploy the front end for the blog, and time permitting, we're going to deploy the back end. There's really 3 technologies we're going to be focused on over the next 2 weeks. Cloudfront, S3, and Elastic Beanstalk. So I've already kind of talked a little bit about each of these at a very high level, but we're going to dig into each one of these one by one. And through the usage of these 3 products, we should have a working blog demo and eventually a working capstone. All right. So we're going to take a look at the first of these 3 products. The first one is AWS S3. Has anyone heard of S3? So some people have heard the term thrown around. So let's just go over a couple quick facts about AWS 3. We'll also take a peek from our console. So I'm going to go ahead and log in to my AWS account. Right. And I'm going to go ahead and type in S3, scalable storage in the cloud. I'm going to click on that and get that ready. All right. So a couple things about S3. So what is it? Well, you can kind of think of it like Dropbox. You can sort of think of it like Git, except S3 really doesn't work the same way that GitHub does. You can store code in S3. In fact, a lot of people do store code in S3, but think of S3 a little bit more as a scalable Dropbox that your application can use. You can effectively store as much stuff as you want into S3. There is a limit of 5 terabytes per individual file that you upload to S3, but in terms of how many 5 terabyte files you could store in S3, it's theoretically unlimited. S3 is kind of this the service that you upload files to it, and you can make other services read files out of it. We're going to use S3 to upload our front end code, and then we're going to have Cloudfront actually serve those files on the internet to our customers, so they can view our websites. So think of S3 really as kind of a Dropbox that we're going to use to throw our front end code into it, and then we're going to build off top of S3 to serve those front end files to our customers. One other fact that I didn't mention on S3 is that you don't pay any money to upload files to S3. It's free. All the cost of uploading and the traffic to send your files to S3 is free. You only pay for how much data is downloaded from your S3. So the pricing model for S3 is pretty simple. You can store as much as you want into it, and all you do is pay as people download things from it. So the pricing for how much you pay we'll actually get into here in a little bit. But we're going to get into it right now. So there's a couple calculators to look at how much it costs to store files on S3. But here's one of the calculators. So if you're averaging around 10 terabytes per month of storage, and most of your files are roughly 16 megabytes in size, you're looking at a monthly cost of $230 something, and around $3 to upload those files. Uploading is basically free, but there are a couple little charges here and there for initiating the uploads.
And that cost is incurred by downloads, you said?
So the cost is incurred by downloads, and you're also paying for the rent for AWS to continue hosting your files. Now, we are not going to be operating at terabyte scale. In fact, our front end code is going to be measured in megabytes. So the monthly cost for our S3 is going to be in pennies to upwards of maybe $1. But this just is to give you an idea. If you were to be putting a ton of data around the terabyte mark into S3, this would kind of give you an idea of how much that costs.
Great. Oh, I think Schneider has a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm curious, are you charged by, like, 'cause I've seen put copy post, is that how charges are set, like by the method?
Well, so to store files in S3, you're making a put HTTP request. And if you wanted to, from within S3, if you say you were storing movies in S3, if you wanted to make a copy request and take a movie and copy it and create, in effect, a copy of that movie, you could make a copy HTTP request. Post would be to create a new file, put would be to modify an existing, copy would be to move and create a copy of a file within S3.
All right.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. And the other thing I want to illustrate here too is that S3 is really not cheap. I guess it depends on how you want to define cheap, but if you want to store lots of large files, There are sometimes more cost-effective ways of doing this, but anyways, I just wanted to give you a sense of how the pricing works for S3. I don't really want to go into much more detail about that. So the natural question that I'm hoping is on most people's mind is, okay, this is cool, Nathan. You told us a lot of neat stuff about S3, this S3 thing, but I don't understand why we should use this instead of GitHub Pages, right? Like, we've used GitHub Pages before to deploy our front end. Like, why can't we just continue to use GitHub Pages? Well, there's some advantages to S3. For example, with S3, you have complete control over who downloads your files. So basically, who views your website. You have complete control over where your website is available. You have control over the number of files, how large your files, up to around 5 terabytes. You have complete control over your files. With GitHub Pages, because it's so simple, you give up a lot of that control. And I copied this page from the GitHub FAQ. But really, with GitHub Pages, if your site starts to get a lot of traffic, so let's say you're selling like hoodies, and for some reason your hoodies go viral, and a ton of people are trying to get to your website and place orders for hoodies, your website might hit that soft bandwidth limit of 100 gigabytes per month, and all of a sudden your website might be down because GitHub Pages just decided, okay, that's too much traffic. We're going to start rate limiting. With S3, that's not a concern, right? Like with S3, AWS is going to be happy to continue serving your files, and obviously happy to continue charging you for folks downloading files from your S3. But long story short, the reason why we're looking at S3 over GitHub Pages is because it gives us more control, more flexibility than GitHub Pages affords us. Anybody have any questions about that, or thoughts, comments?
Maybe we could just use GitHub for our smaller projects as we practice and kind of polish up what we've done.
Yeah, and honestly, there's nothing wrong with using GitHub Pages for practice. Yeah, and even smaller sites where it's really not critical that your front end is always available. Maybe like for a portfolio website, maybe you're okay with it going down once or twice a month, or not being available for certain parts of the day, or it's all up to you which product fits your needs. Alba, did you have a question?
Yeah, I have my old portfolio in the GitHub Pages, but we just did one with React, and I wanted to switch it from that one to the one that has React, but Max told me to wait till we had these DevOps classes because it's a little bit different. I'm not sure if it could just be deployed or if I need to do something different.
So you have, it's going to be up to you. After we get done with today and next week, it'll be your call on what you want, where you want your portfolio to live. If your portfolio doesn't have backend code, which I'm assuming most portfolios don't, they just kind of serve front end and might have a resume, etc. But if your front end doesn't have any backend code, your portfolio doesn't have any backend code, you could get away with doing it on GitHub Pages.
It doesn't have a backend separate page. He did everything in one front end page. He did everything in one page.
Okay. Yeah, so it'll be up to you to decide. I think maybe Max's comment is more to just to letting you see all the options after we get through class, see all the options, and then you can make an informed decision on which you think will work best for you.
Yeah, like if oh, sorry, go ahead. I was just going to add the comment that with your portfolio, if you wanted to, for every project, like put up a title, description, technologies used, an image, and you were storing all that in a database, that's when you could no longer do it on GitHub.
Mhm.
Is that correct, Nathan?
That's correct. If you have a back end, if you have a database in the back end, yeah, you're going to be well, you could still host your front end on GitHub Pages, but you would also need to run a back end somewhere. And at that point, it begs the question of, are you just making things complicated on yourself? Because it's quite a bit easier, in my opinion. It's quite a bit easier to have your front end and your back end hosted in the same place. Not to say that you can't do it though, in any number of other configurations. Jennifer, did you have a question?
No, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that I had this up here.
Oh, no worries. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started with working with S3. So what we're going to do is we're going to create what's known as a bucket in S3. And I'm thinking that we should, sorry, just trying to plan something here for a second. I'm thinking that we should okay, so we're going to create a bucket and we're going to call it all right, getting ahead of myself. So let's open up S3. So if you go to AWS, and just as a reminder to log into AWS, there is a link to get here. You can open up, let's see, open up Zoom chat and paste this in. I can also include the HTTPS. There we go. So that should take you to the console homepage. From there, you can click on search and be able to get to S3. Okay. And what I think we're going to do is, originally what I wanted to do in class is I wanted to set up a, I wanted to upload the blog front end so we can practice with that in class. But I think what we're going to do is we're still going to upload the blog front end, but I think what we're going to do is we're actually going to create a bucket for your capstone front end. And we're going to make it for the capstone, but then we're going to throw the blog in there. And once we get the blog working, then all you'll have to do is throw your capstone in there. And so we'll practice this with the blog for today. And then once we feel comfortable using this with the blog, we'll throw the capstone in there, and then you'll be done. You'll be done deploying your capstone. So from this buckets page here on S3, over on the right, there should be a button that says create bucket. If you don't have the same thing that you see on my screen, just look for somewhere on this page that says create bucket. You should see something to that effect of creating a bucket in S3. If you don't see it, just let me know.
How do you get to that screen?
So here's, in fact, I'll just paste the link here in Zoom chat. So that should help you shortcut straight to the create bucket page. If that doesn't work, let me know.
All right.
All right. So on the slides, I have the details filled out here for what you should enter, but just follow along with me and I'll explain as we go. So for the bucket name, this is just going to be a name for us to reference this location in S3 later on. I think the easiest way to remember what you're using the bucket for is to name it after the project that you're going to deploy into it. Now, like I said, we're going to practice with the blog code, but we're eventually going to use this for our capstone. So let's just go ahead and call this capstone. And then for the region, this is asking us, where do we want the bucket to be created? Remember, there's 30 something different places that AWS provides services. Let's go ahead and leave it in US East 1. If this doesn't show US East 1 on your computer, please let me know, because we need to make sure that this is set to US East 1. All right. We could skip over the object ownership part. And then here where it says block all public access, we're actually going to disable this. We're going to uncheck it. We want to allow public access. And what I mean by that is we're going to put our front end code in this bucket. We want people to be able to download our front end code, just like we want people to come and visit our website. It's the same thing. When they visit our website, we want them to be able to download the files and load our JavaScript, our HTML, CSS, etc. So we're going to actually make this bucket public. To do that, we need to uncheck this box. Okay, and it's going to give us a big warning because it says, are you sure that you want to allow anybody to download files? Yes, we know what we're doing. So go ahead and acknowledge that the objects will be public inside the bucket. Okay. Make sure that bucket versioning is disabled. It should be disabled by default. All this means is that the S3 bucket can kind of act like Git. It can store versions of the objects in it. We don't need that. And if we enable it, it will just cost us extra money. And then for the default encryption, just leave that set to the S3 managed keys, and then bucket key. We'll let it create a key for us. That's fine. All right. Click create bucket. Oh, sorry. So each of the buckets need, go ahead.
Thanks. I keep getting my authentication failed.
Logging in.
Yeah. So keep up with what you're doing yet?
Oh, okay. So everybody else, let's take a pause here on the create bucket screen. If you're getting an error that says bucket with the same name already exists, that's perfectly fine. So Jennifer, so are you getting to the part where it asks you for the MFA code and it's not accepting it?
It accepts the MFA code, but then when I have to use that CAPTCHA, if I listen to it or if I type it from what's visual, it constantly tells me that it's wrong.
Can we help if you share your screen? Crowdsource the CAPTCHA.
That'd be great, because I'm not really sure what I'm doing wrong here. I'll bring this over.
Okay.
So it likes me up until here.
Oh, okay.
That's new.
So close. Let's see. Let's clear cookies. Let's start there. Just wipe everything. So you could do this any number. Yeah, you could do this through settings. So yep, settings, and then Let's see, privacy and security on the left. And clear browsing data, or sorry, cancel. It's the one below the cookies and other third-party data. Yep. Scroll down, more. Offhand, does anybody know in Chrome where you go to wipe cookies?
It's one of the options. It says clear cookies and site data and close on Windows, so it'll like set it for you. It's like a little. You see it
Here,
a little bit up. Yeah, I think that might be. I mean,
That's gonna set that as
Right.
the default behavior though.
Is it not an option when you go to, oh yeah, when you do clear browsing data, it is one of the options. So privacy and security,
mm-hmm.
I know it as Command Shift Delete, Command Shift Backspace,
Oh,
brings the clear browsing data.
so bring us up to back to that tab. The unauthorized tab. Bring us quicker there.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I can't see it because it's hidden by the Zoom.
What'd you say it was, Doug?
Command Shift Delete,
Okay,
cookies and other site data.
so I can just keep that. Can I keep the other ones and just get rid of stuff? I've got my bookmarks.
What happens if you go to advanced? Does it let you pick exactly which ones? One of these, no, hit cancel. I got this. We're gonna do this the programmer way. Go back to unauthorized.
Mm-hmm.
Command Shift I. Get that inspector.
Command Shift I.
Yeah, that works too. All right, go down to application. Can you bring this screen up just a little bit? Nice. Yeah, just go to cookies here. Right click. Or just expand, I guess. Yep, click on that. Can you right click and just wipe this? Doesn't let you, okay. Go, oh, good enough. All right, refresh this page behind you. No bueno, okay. Let me just open the Chrome on my end and find where this is. Oops, I have Chrome installed on my computer. Do you mind if I just take over?
Not at all.
Let me request control. Thank you.
Thank you.
There we go. Let's try this again.
Okay.
Is that what everybody else sees? RG4ZQQ?
That's my guess.
Well, we got it wrong. Let's try that again. Easy.
All right, now let me try 6G as in gamma. No, I'm just being a jerk.
All right, over to you.
Okay.
By the way, since I am late, you were helping people with things set up. I don't really know where we are.
So just log into AWS and you'll be caught up.
Okay.
We did it, everybody. Good job. Good crowdsourcing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep. hop over to AWS or S3. And then from S3, click on the create bucket. Yep. And you're with me now.
Sorry, guys. Thanks so much.
No worries. All right. Okay. So from the create bucket page, we'll go through the settings real quick here in a second for the people catching up. But for all the folks that got the same error that I did on the capstone, you have to call this something unique. To get something unique, I'm just going to do capstone Nathan Evans. You can call it capstone dash whatever. Just make sure that it's something unique. And if you have your capstone figured out, like you have a good name for your capstone, name it that. I'm just going to Nathan Evans because I think that it will be globally unique. Schneider?
So is this a bucket for a capstone? I thought, or on the blog. I just want to be clear.
Yeah, we're going to practice. We're going to throw the blog in here for now, but we're long term, we're going to use this for the capstone. So call it capstone something.
Gotcha.
Okay. And then for folks catching up, AWS region should be US East 1. Leave that alone. ACL is disabled. That should be blue. Leave that alone. It should be that by default. But what you do want to uncheck though is the block all public access, because we do want this to be public. So uncheck. It'll have this big danger sign. Just check that box and acknowledge that you're cool with making this bucket public, which we are. Leave everything else as is. So all we're doing is we're giving it a name, and then we're unchecking the block all public access because we're going to make this public. Okay. And with that, we should be able to create the bucket. If you aren't able to create the bucket, let me know. Now you should see something like mine, except instead of having the 2 extra buckets, you should just see 1 bucket. All right.
I'm sorry, Nathan, what did you change with the bucket name to make it accept it?
Yeah, so it needs to be globally unique. Somebody has already taken the name capstone. So just give it capstone dash and then either your name or some, if you know what your capstone's for, like walking tours or something, then maybe call it walking tours. All right. Anybody have any problems creating their bucket? All right, let's move on. Stop me if you've run into any issues. Okay, let's go and check out our bucket. So if you click on the bucket from the bucket page, and just a reminder to get to this bucket page, you just type in S3 into that search box, click on S3. Now the landing page should look a little bit different. Instead of that big product splash that you saw when you first came here, now it just shows you your list of buckets. So click into whatever bucket it is that you've created. And this really is just like Google Drive or Dropbox. At this point, you could take a file and drop it into the screen, and it would load. It would upload it into this bucket. We will get to that here in a minute, but that's what you're looking at right now. These are all the objects in your bucket. Right now, we don't have any. We don't have any, but we'll upload some here in a moment. There's one more thing we need to do in order to finish, or sorry, there's a couple things we need to do to finish configuring our S3 bucket so that we can use it for our website. We're going to click on the Properties tab up here in the top. So right now we're on the Objects tab. We're going to go over to Properties. And then at the very, very, very bottom of this page, there's something about static website hosting. Click the edit. We're going to go from disabled to enabled. Okay, and then inside of this, a whole bunch of settings just popped up. The one setting we care about is the index document. So this just says when somebody goes to visit our bucket, our website, what should be the starting point? And we know that for websites, typically the starting point, the first file that people download when they go to visit a website is the index.html. So we're going to go ahead and specify that here. The error document, that's optional. We can leave that blank. But what this would do if we were to specify it is that if someone were to visit our bucket and try to download a file that doesn't exist, this option would serve up a page like an error page if we wanted to do that. We don't have an error page. We probably won't have an error page for our capstone, so we'll just leave this blank for now. And then there's more configuration for if you want to redirect people instead of displaying an error page. Well, we'll just ignore that for now. So to recap, enabled website hosting, set the index document to index.html. Go ahead, Nosh. Okay. And just hit save. And I think there's one last thing we have to do. Yep. All right. So we've enabled static file hosting so we can upload a website to this bucket. The last configuration step that we have for the bucket is under permissions. So right now we've technically made all the objects in the bucket public, but we also need to have a permission policy that allows people to access our bucket. To do that, I have some code for you to copy and paste from the slides. I think the best way for you to get this code is to come over to the slides and copy it from there, as opposed to me trying to paste this into Slack or into Zoom chat. So over on slide 45, and I'll paste a link to the slides here. And I'll paste a link to the slides, but come over here to slide 45, and there's this block of code right here. Go ahead and grab that. And we're going to edit this bucket policy. We're going to add this. Security policy to allow people to access the files in our bucket. Okay. The one thing to change though in this copy paste is the bucket name. So you'll notice once you paste this, there's all the stuff, but then there's this bucket dash name. Replace that with the name of your bucket. Mine was Capstone Nathan Evans.
How do we do that? Changing the name?
Yeah, so when you're over here editing this bucket policy, paste in that code from the slide, right? And then down here on the resource, it should say bucket name when you pasted it. Replace that with the name of your bucket, and you can see the name of your bucket is above you in that bucket resource name.
When I'm
if you
creating
don't-
the bucket, is there anything specific I have to change?
When you're creating the bucket, is there anything specific that you have to change? Yes, it's back on the slide 43. So you want to make sure that the block all public access is unchecked. That's really the one big thing that you have to make sure. All right. Once you have this policy, just click Save Changes, and you're done. Now you've got a big scary red badge on your bucket that says publicly accessible. That's perfect. We want people to be able to download our front end files. We want things to be public. Now, one distinction to point out here. Yes, we've made the bucket public, but we've limited everyone to only performing get object operations, which means that yes, it's public, people can download stuff, but they can't upload things. That's really important. We don't want people to have free access to uploading files to our bucket. And that's what this bucket policy allows. It really just allows public users to be able to read from our bucket and not upload stuff to our bucket. Okay,
I think Alba has a question.
go ahead.
I got an unknown error. I'm trying to paste the bucket again, but
You're not hitting a unique problem. Can you share your screen?
hold on.
Nice. Okay. So scroll up to the top and replace that bucket capstone. Scroll up to the top of this the screen.
I'm sorry. Hold
So you called your bucket capstone React front end. So change that bucket capstone. Just keep backspacing until you get to the triple colons.
on. So no bucket.
No bucket. Yeah. Yep. So yep, capstone dash React dash front end. Yeah. In fact, you really could just copy paste that and put it right there if you so desired. Just be careful. Yep, just be careful to leave that slash wildcard. Yep, because that's in AWS policy language. That's it's saying that it has access to everything within that bucket. Perfect. You got the big scary publicly accessible badge. You're good to go. Jordan.
Hi, I just need to figure out how to edit that bucket.
Yeah. So do you want to share your screen and we can run through it? So we've got the bucket created.
Yeah, hold on. I don't know why this is open. All right. Right there.
Okay, we got the bucket created, clicked into it. Yep. Go to properties tab. Scroll to the very, very bottom.
Oh,
Edit this. We're going to switch it to allow static web hosting. Hit enable. Scroll down, fill in the words index.html here. Sorry, not in the redirection rules box, in this box right here. And then save.
and then this is where I edit it.
Nope, get rid of that. These are redirection rules. There's something different. So hit save changes. You're looking for the permissions tab. We're going to create a bucket policy. So go ahead and edit, or sorry. Yep, exactly that one. Yep. Paste. And then click this button to copy that to your clipboard. And then chop all of this off, leaving the / wildcard. Paste.
Is that good?
Can you paste? Is anything pasting?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Oh, perfect. And throw a quotation mark right there at the beginning of this. Good to go. Scroll down to the bottom, hit save.
Awesome, thank you.
Big, scary, publicly accessible. You're all set. All right. Anybody else?
F is my Zoom. Oh, there we go.
All right. Let me go back to sharing my screen. Okay. So let's go back to the front page here. Again, you can get to this by typing S3 in the bar, clicking onto the bucket. We just want to be looking at whatever our S3 bucket, we want to be staring at the top level of it. Okay. Switching back to the slides real quick. So you've got a number of ways to get files into S3. Again, we're going to use S3 to host our front end files. The simplest way that we're going to do tonight, the simplest way to get your front end code here into S3 is to just drag and drop it in here. But my question is, how do we get the files to do this with? And let me be a little bit more specific. We're going to practice today. We're going to practice with the blog front end. Eventually, you can wipe out this blog front end code and throw your capstone front end into it. But for class, we're just going to practice by throwing the blog front end code in here. So my question is, how do we get files for the blog? How do we get front end files to put into this bucket?
Is there like an upload feature?
There is an upload. So, well, let me just ask. So if we clicked on upload, add files, navigate to where the blog is on our computer. So blog front end. To get to our files, let's actually do this the right way. Let's open up GitHub Desktop. Let's go to our blog front end in GitHub Desktop. Click Show in Finder. So what would we do? We could take all of this and drag it in. Right? Would this work?
Do we need to load the node?
It's
Good question. Somebody said something about node modules.
Do we have to load the node modules too, or no?
Yeah. So do we want package? Let's see. Let me open the front end in VS Code. So do we want package.json to be on the internet? When people come to visit our website, do we want them to check out our package.json?
I was gonna say, I mean, I thought that was only for us really to, npm start it. If I'm
Right.
the user, I'm just looking, looking at this.
Right, exactly. This is for us as developers. How can we get front end code to deploy? Anybody know?
Beats me.
Has anybody practiced this? No? Okay. So there is a command called start. We've been using that to start up the dev server, right? We say npm run start. There is another command called build, and that's what we're interested in. So let's run the build command. So to get here, I think you could do this in. VS Code. Open in terminal. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a terminal here, and I'm going to say npm run build.
Do you need the node modules in order to run it?
Good good pointing out. How do I get node modules?
npm install.
npm install. So if you haven't done this on your end, if you don't have a node modules folder, go ahead and run npm install. All right, and then I'm going to run npm run build. What that's going to do is, go ahead, Jennifer.
Thanks. I don't think I understand how to get our code open from GitHub.
Oh, okay. So do you have GitHub desktop open?
I do.
Do you have the blog front end selected?
Mhm.
So you can get to it by going up to the top menu bar. Do you see where it says repository?
Yes, there it is.
You can, yep, you can click open in VS Code. You should be.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Yep. Okay. So from within the blog front end folder, we can run npm run build. Now it's slightly different from npm run start because npm run start opens up Max's awesome blog in my browser. I can click login. I can do all of my development here in the browser. npm run build is a little bit different. npm run build produces a folder called build. Inside of this folder called build is everything that I need in order to have a fully functioning website. It has a index.html, so it has a starting point for the website to load. It also has all of the CSS nicely packaged and all of the JavaScript nicely packaged inside of this folder. So whenever we want to get files for our website, instead of just uploading our package JSON, our SRC folder, public, etc., instead of uploading all of the development files that we care about, we run npm run build. It generates this brand new folder for us. We take what's in the build folder and we upload it. Okay. The other really nice thing that build does is it will minify. Is anybody familiar with minification? Or I've heard of minification? So notice how, like, for example, this JS file, actually not this one, this right here. Notice how all of this is not easily readable. That's because the build step takes all of our nicely formatted, commented code. It strips it of all of that, and it turns it into something that's extremely performant and highly optimized for our customers to load, because our customers don't really care about seeing the actual source code of our. Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, so that build folder that popped up when after we ran run build, kind of two questions. One, is that folder accessible even if we're not on run build? And like two, is it accessible and like can we put stuff in it? I'm guessing like you would put the files in there that you want to load on start. So say like these files that are showing in there right now, say we wanted to change those or something, like how would we go about doing that?
Yeah, good question. So don't make changes to build. Think of build as throwaway. Like, for example, I'm going to delete it right now. If I run npm run build, there it is again. So think of build as the build folder as ephemeral. Think of it as throwaway. You can easily get it back by running npm run build. It's kind of like node modules. You run a command, it shows up.
Okay, so that's kind of what I was, not to cut you off. I just want to, that's kind of what I was thinking. So basically when you run build, that folder is just basically pulling all of the important stuff from your overall folder. It's pulling all the stuff that would be publicly needed. Okay.
Yep.
All right. That's
exactly.
Make sure. Thank you.
Now let's say, but let's say like you have some files that you want, like for example, images are really common. Like, so right here, we've got the logo 512, the logo 192, those kind of come does come with React projects. But let's say like you had a big splash image that you wanted to show on your capstone. So would you throw that in the build folder? Well, it would be tempting to throw it in there, right? Because that's what we're going to upload for our front end. But actually the right place to put it is in the public folder. So if we had something like my splash.jpg, we would put all of that inside the public folder. And then the next time we ran npm run build, it will automatically get copied into the build folder for you. So think of the build as throwaway. You can regenerate the build folder whenever you need using the npm run build command. And any extra files that you have that aren't JavaScript, throw that into the public folder. It will get slurped up and thrown into the build folder for you.
All right, got it.
Good
Thank you very
question.
much.
Yep. Anybody else? Good for your
Quick,
hands up. Are you
quick request.
asking a question?
Yeah, I'm getting a message in my terminal that says sh:\react scripts command not found.
Schneider? You debugged that for me.
I was just gonna say, did it call my name? Node modules, npm.
npm install. Yep. I literally hit the exact same thing that you did, Jennifer.
npm
Right above. Here-ish. No. Anyways, I hit the same thing. So run npm install before you call run build, and you should be good to go.
Nathan, could you remind us the link to Max's blog files, front end, back end?
Oh, absolutely. That is back on slide.
Oh, it is in the slide deck.
It is on slide 13, and the link is, I'll paste it into the chat.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Naj, go ahead.
All right. Sorry, I messed up on something yesterday then because my front end folder in my GitHub is empty.
Oh,
And I have the code, but I don't remember how we did it yesterday. Like something in my backend, but I don't have anything in my front end on GitHub.
can you show us the screen real quick?
Wait, no, we need to see this. I just don't remember the steps we did yesterday.
Yeah, no worries. So you've got the front end right there. So let's go ahead and get, instead of looking at history, let's click over to the changes tab just to ground ourselves a little bit. There we go. So this is usually what we're looking at. All right, let's go and open up Finder and take a look at what you currently have in this GitHub folder. So go up to the repository up at the top.
Where?
Up here.
Here?
Repository up on the menu bar, way up at the top.
I can't see anything. Oh, I see.
Oh, is it zoom in the way? Yep, click
Yeah.
on that. And then show in Finder. All right. So your blog front end totally has code in it. I think you're good.
No, I got a whole bunch of errors on VS Code though, so I don't understand what I did wrong.
Well, let's work backwards. So open up VS Code. And to open VS Code, you can click on, yeah, that works too. Just if we don't, if we've got errors going on in VS Code, just
Oh,
close
it's
out
not
of VS Code.
Sorry. Wrong one. Is this it?
That's okay. Just leave this up. Hit Command Q on your keyboard. Force quit out of this, or just quit out of this. All right. Now that we've got VS Code closed, click back into GitHub Desktop. All right. And then go back up to the top where for repository and click open in VS Code. This will open up a brand new VS Code and it will be in the right spot. There you go. So you
Okay.
totally have code here.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah, and then just to make sure that you're totally with us and you've got files. Yeah, exactly. Make a new terminal. And then npm install, so we get those node modules. And then the next command to run after this will be that npm run build. Cool, npm run build. And we should expect to see a magic folder. There it is. There's the build folder. If you open up over here on the side, if you expand that build folder, there's all of your, oh, there we go. There's all the stuff to upload. Yep, perfect. Alba?
If it doesn't let you drag and drop it, the build.
No. So let me share my screen. So the next step is go back to sharing. Close this. All right. So the next step is to not do what I did and try to upload all the files, but instead we need to upload the build folder. So you should be looking at a screen kind of like this. Click on that upload, and then let's upload those build files. And as Alba was pointing out, there's a specific way that we need to do this. So here in VS Code, we're not going to upload the build folder, but instead we're going to upload all of the things inside of the build folder. And I think the easiest way to do this is going to be to open this build folder up in Finder. So let me go back. Reveal in Finder. So I'm going to right click and just hit reveal in Finder here. And that's just going to open up another window into my code. I'm going to double click into the build, and then I'm going to drag and drop all of that. So we're not uploading the build folder itself. We're not uploading a folder called build. We're going to upload all of the things inside of build.
Where are we uploading it to?
Just out of curiosity, it has the add folder option. So what would happen if we, added the build folder?
So what will happen is in order to get to those files, you'll need to, in the URL, go to your bucket name /build/index.html. So
Okay.
instead of it being your bucket and then index.html loads, users will have to also type in /build because you've put in a folder.
All right, so just as another path. Gotcha.
Exactly. Everything that you put into this folder is going to get reflected in the URL that you give your users. So if you nest your JavaScript and your HTML in 10 nested folders, the URL is going to stack and have all 10 of those folders in the URL.
Thank you.
Yeah, good question. Okay.
Do I paste into that little find search?
So there's any number of ways to do it, but the easiest way is once you get to your bucket. So I've got S3 open. I'm going to click on my bucket name. My bucket name is Nathan Evans, Capstone Nathan Evans. So are you looking at your buckets, a page similar to this?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So then click that upload, that orange upload.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is where you can drag and drop stuff. So with this window open up your build window in Finder. You got that open on the side?
I do.
Cool. Drag and drop that onto the screen.
No, I'm not gonna do it.
So many screens open.
Same.
So, oh, and a giant window pops up. Okay.
Cool. And then once you got all that, click upload at the bottom. It will start uploading all the things. You should be all set.
Very good.
All right. So to know if you've got this working right, to know that you've uploaded all the files and your website is ready to go, click on the properties tab. So back on the main page for your bucket where you went to go and upload, click on the properties tab, scroll down to the very bottom where we enabled the static file hosting.
Mhm.
There should be a link down there. It should say bucket website endpoint. You should be able to click on that. When you click on it, you're hoping to see something like this. You're hoping to see some front end code. If you see something that says Max's awesome blog, log in. You have completed part 1 of the S3 adventure.
Very good.
Nathan, can you run that again, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So starting from the beginning, if you go to AWS, make sure you're on the S3 page. Click on your capstone bucket, make sure you're inside your bucket. All right, you should see all the files that you've uploaded so far on the first page. Click on properties, scroll all the way down to the bottom. There should be a link down at the bottom to your website. Kalai?
So can I log in? It's when I say login, it says login API call failed.
Yeah, you're jumping ahead. What do you think is happening?
Because
End of
I
this
think the backend as the server API everything.
Yeah, exactly. All we have is a front end. Very nice. Yeah. So we've got the front end working. We're kind of missing some crucial elements. We're missing the back end. So API calls will fail until we have an API to actually serve traffic for our front end. Yep. And then just to highlight what Kalai's talking about, if I open up my network inspector, go to the login, type in some stuff, hit login. Yep, failing. And if we take a look over here in the network inspector, we can see it's because it's trying to make a call to localhost 3001. Well, that won't work anymore because we're deployed on the internet.
Question:
That is,
how'd you do that? Is that like an extension? Your network.
This is me using Firefox. It will look slightly different because it's not Chrome, but
In the Chrome developer tools, there's a network tab, like where you go to inspect or console. There's a tab there for network.
Thank you.
yep, it should look very much the same. If it's empty, just remember that you have to have it open before you make calls for things to show up. So have it open and then load the page that you want to inspect the network calls for. With that, I think we're due for a break. Should we just say 7:15? Back at 7:15? Sound good? All right, see everybody then.
Thank you.
Nate, would you or Doug mind helping me just catch up real quick? It'll take like
Yeah,
2
absolutely. Yeah. You should go ahead and share. Let me stop sharing.
Yeah. So all right. I'm sorry.
So open up GitHub Desktop. Let's go to the to GitHub Desktop, the program. on your
Yep, my
computer.
bad. Sorry, I don't know why all this is open. I was the last step I left off at, by the way, was the
Oh.
editing it.
So scroll down to the very bottom here. See that link, the Bucket website endpoint?
Yeah.
Yeah, click that. Okay, so 404, we don't have any files in here. Great. Leave that open. Leave that link open because we're about to fix that. Great. Go to the front page of your bucket. So click on buckets over there on the left. Yeah. And then click back into, yep. All right. And then
I haven't uploaded
Click the
any
upload.
objects. Yeah, that's
perfect. So leave this here. Go down to your taskbar and open up GitHub Desktop. It's right there. For this part, ignore the non-GitHub desktop version of your code. So notice how you're going to your big Omni project folder deal. Go down here and click on GitHub Desktop. Cool. Switch from the back end to the front end because we want front end code. Perfect. Go up to the top, repository. Yep, open in VS Code. So from here, open this code, use a VS. Yep. There we go. This is where we want to be. All right, give us a terminal. You can get a terminal by going.
oh, you mean a terminal?
No, you're good. Let's work with this. So the terminal that you open down here, CD up one level. So type in CD space ... Yep, enter. All right. From here, do npm install. Perfect. Then after this is done, we're going to run an npm run build to generate that build folder so we can deploy our code. Okay, npm run build. Perfect. So this is doing what we were talking about before. It's taking all of your stuff, it's bundling it, it's packaging it, it's making it into a nice folder for you to upload. All right, now we just need to open this up in Finder. So if you right click on that folder and hit reveal in Finder. Cool. Now grab all of this stuff and copy it over onto, you're gonna have to grab that Chrome window and get it up next to you on the side.
Hey, I can't do this. That sucks. Let me minimize it. Right here, right?
Yeah, anywhere I think actually will work on the screen. But yep, drag that on. Cool. And then down in the bottom right, there's going to be a upload. Cool. And I'll upload all the stuff. And then once that's done, you should be able to switch to this tab, refresh, and your website should be live.
Refresh it.
So go to the 404. Yep, refresh.
Awesome.
Nice. Nice.
Thank you.
Nice. Cool. Yep. See you in 15. Okay. All right, so if all has gone well, what you should have right now, what you should have is a bucket that contains some build files. So files that we generated by running npm run build. And you should have a link that lets you view those files. So again, that link is down here on the properties tab of the bucket. You can find that link down there. If you don't have that, feel free to stop me, and we'll figure out how to get you to this point, because we're going to build on top of this. All right. Let me ask, before we jump into the next section, I want to stop for a second and take a look at this link that you see right here. Can anybody, I'm looking for the people that are very, very observant. Can anybody tell me anything strange they see about this link?
There's some dots instead of dashes.
So a dot here, dot here, dot here.
Mhm.
In total, there's there's two subdomains here. So that's a good observation. This is not a straightforward link, right? It's very deep. It's nested 2 levels deep. Good observation. Other thoughts?
It's not secure.
Somebody
Yeah.
said it.
Yeah, the HTTPS R
Our
It's not
trial.
secure.
Yep. Not secure, right? So that leads us to the next technology that we're going to look at. And I mentioned that there were 3 things that we're looking at: S3, Elastic Beanstalk, and CloudFront. CloudFront's the next thing that we're moving into. So the entire reason why we're going to use CloudFront, I kind of prepared a little sales pitch for you, but it really boils down to TLS, to securing those links. The rest of the sales pitch falls along the lines of S3 really is not really designed for quickly serving front end files. That is more the realm of content delivery networks, where content delivery networks are specialized in the fact that CDNs put data centers really close to where the users are that are requesting files. So for example, if I'm selling hoodies and someone in Los Angeles is trying to visit my website to buy a hoodie from me, the user in Los Angeles shouldn't make a network request all the way over in New York City in order to download a copy of the website and load it on their phone in Los Angeles. Instead, what should happen is the user trying to buy a hoodie from me and going to visit my website, they should, from Los Angeles, hit a data center close to them in some part of California, download a copy of the website there, and then return it back to their phone. What CDNs do is they make that possible. CDNs distribute files across a very large amount of data centers and make it so that files can be downloaded as close to where the user is as possible. And that results in extremely fast website loading speeds. That's what the big companies do, like Facebook and Google and all of those that serve lots of popular websites. They put their files, they put their actual code and front end assets, they put those things as close to the user as possible so that, you know, they get sub millisecond loading times on web pages. So we're going to do the same thing. We want our website to be snappy, and that's what CloudFront is going to provide us with. It's going to provide us with the mechanism for distributing our files as close to the user as possible. It also does a lot of other features, things such as caching. So let's say that your website doesn't change very much. Well, in that case, we wouldn't send out new versions of the front end code for your website. We wouldn't send those out as frequently. So with CloudFront, you can change how often versions of your website are rolled out. So it handles a bit of the caching and distribution logic for your front end. We're probably not going to touch 99% of those controls, all those knobs and levers, The sales pitch that I'm trying to give you is we need CloudFront in order to secure our website and also to make it to make our website load blazingly fast. Questions? Talk a lot. Okay. The other thing that I want to point out is that it behooves us to use CloudFront from a cost perspective, because the reads from S3 are actually more expensive than reading from CloudFront. It's not by a wide margin, but by letting CloudFront do the distribution of our files out of S3, we actually save a bit of money in addition to improving our speed. There's also quite a bit more that falls under the free tier for CloudFront than it does for S3. So we're going to save quite a bit of money by doing this. It's really just a win-win for ourselves. But before I get into that, I feel like we need to have a quick discussion about what securing our website means. Can somebody tell me in their own words what TLS is? No wrong answers. I'm just looking for somebody to summarize it, what they think it is.
I just know it has something to do with security.
Right. Yep, it does. It does have to do with security. And I'm going to quickly switch over to, I used to, for some of the previous cohorts, I used to teach a section on cryptography and security. So I want to just briefly talk about what it is that TLS does and why we're about to do quite a few things with it. So at a very, very high level, you could tell whether something is secured with TLS by noticing whether or not it has that S in the URL. If it does have the S, then you know it's using TLS. If it doesn't, then it's not secured. And here's just a couple examples of different URLs that are using HTTPS. But the really obvious one is when you're navigating in your browser, whether you've got that lock or not. I think nowadays browsers, the default is to show a big red bar if you're not visiting HTTPS. We all know in the past that used to be vice versa. But anyways, when you're using HTTPS, you just look for that S, and that's how you know whether or not that's how you know whether or not it's secured. So HTTP is the unencrypted, HTTPS is the encrypted version. The terminology though is kind of confusing. When we say TLS, we're really talking about SSL. When we say SSL, we're really talking about TLS. They're mostly synonymous. There are some minor differences in what TLS means and what SSL means, but more or less we can use the terms interchangeably. So a quick example of what the difference between HTTP and HTTPS is, or why this is a big deal, is that, you know, if you think about the different stages of traffic on the internet, if we, for example, like if we're logging into a website, you know, we'll make a request to that website, and our request travels through these different locations, right? When we log into, let's say, like a bank, to like check on our bills or something, when we initiate the login, when we send our login credentials to the bank, we're actually sending all of that stuff from our laptop to our router to Spectrum or Cox or whoever we're using for our internet provider. And then from there, we're going to all the various backbones, and then finally to whatever the data center is that's hosting our bank application. Well, with HTTP, not HTTPS, that's unencrypted. So that means that anywhere along the line, if you're using HTTP, anywhere along the line, users can snoop your data and see what you're doing. And to give an example of that, I'm going to open up my terminal real quick and show you what it would look like if you were to snoop traffic with HTTP. There's a command that you can run called TCP dump. And what that does is TCP dump will listen to all the network traffic that's passing through your network card or your Wi-Fi on your laptop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sniffing or start snooping in on any traffic that my computer sends to cohort 4, API cohort 4. So I'm going to start that up here. There we go. All right. So now we have a, this window is going to act as someone malicious. This is like a hacker that is able to snoop on the traffic or the websites that are being visited on my computer. Okay. Down here, I'm going to simulate opening a connection to this website. This, if I scroll back up to the top, simulate a request to cohort 4. So I'm going to make a HTTP request to api.cohort4.com. Is this request down here? Is this request in my terminal secured with TLS? Can anybody tell me?
It doesn't have
There's
so
I feel like saying
Sorry.
yes, because I think like you're on a local host still somehow.
So I'm going to make a request. Is everybody familiar with curl? Have you seen curl during the cohort?
Yes.
Okay. So curl acts kind of like a browser, but it's in the terminal. It's going to make a request to this website. So my question is, I'm going to make this request to this URL. I'm going to make a GET request to this URL. Is this URL secured with TLS?
no.
No, it's not, because we don't have the HTTPS there, right? And because it's not secured with TLS, that means that anybody that's snooping or listening on our traffic will be able to see the data that I'm sending to that website and that website is sending back to me. So I hit that curl just then. Notice that all of this traffic that you see right here, all of this traffic showed up in the capture. So all of the data that I sent to cohort 4 shows up here. So anybody can see that. And to help illustrate that, there's an endpoint on this website that returns all of our GitHub usernames. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that. Notice up here, all of that data, any user will be able to see. Now watch what happens if I simply switch from curl HTTP to HTTPS. I'm going to keep this capture going up here. It's all garbage. There's nothing that someone would be able to decipher from all of this. And the reason why is because by using HTTPS, all of our traffic between our computer and the destination website is encrypted. So that means that without the hacker gaining the encryption keys of the website, no hacker is going to be able to decipher it. Okay.
That's super cool. So before encryption, like if we have like our credit card and stuff, they can pull that information just from looking at. Oof,
right.
that's not
And
good.
that used to be a big deal. Like if you recall, in the past, like people have been talking about how, don't log on to public Wi-Fi and don't, be careful about the websites you visit at an airport, and, don't do your online banking at coffee shops on open Wi-Fi. Well, why is that? Well, it used to be that we did everything over HTTP. So if you and I were sitting at a coffee shop, I could just watch all the packets flowing between your computer and the router, and I could snoop in on or sniff out your bank login credentials. Nowadays, that's much harder because of HTTPS. With HTTPS, there is a certificate that gets generated. And I'll quickly go over that because we don't have time to get too in depth into how HTTPS works. But on a very basic level, the way HTTPS works is when a user initiates a request with a website, they both communicate and agree on a shared code, kind of like a lock and key. They kind of agree that they're going to use this secret code. And then every piece of communication after that point is done using that shared agreed upon password or that shared agreed upon code. And that's what leads to you being able to have an encrypted communication. So we just went through that demo. It actually ends up being a little bit too complicated to get into, but suffice to say that in order to secure a website, you need to have a certificate. And we're going to go through that process of generating certificates here in a moment. But with HTTPS though, it's very important that if you're going to take any kind of sensitive information, that you encrypt that traffic. And what do I mean by sensitive information? Well, what does the blog do? Well, the blog lets you log in. If we want the username and password for logging into the blog to be protected, then we need to make sure that our website has TLS or SSL enabled. Anybody have any questions?
Could you share that slide deck?
Yeah, sure. I think this is public from a previous cohort.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I meant the just the link.
Here are the old slides for this section. You're not expected to, again, you're not going to be quizzed on this. This is more just for your own education and learning a bit about how TLS works. Okay. All right. So let's go back. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a Cloudfront distribution, and we're going to wire it up to work with our S3 bucket. So if you go back to your AWS console, we're going to go up to the top and we're going to type in the product name Cloudfront. And my screen is going to look different from yours because I already have a distribution enabled or a distribution created, but just look somewhere on that page. You should see create distribution somewhere. Click on that. And I will post the link. So if you aren't able to find that exact page, just click on that link and it should take you to what you see on my screen. All right. So recall that Cloudfront is what we're going to use to distribute the files from our S3 bucket. So the first question that Cloudfront is asking us is, okay, where are the files going to be coming from? So if you click in that box, it should have quite a few it should have at least one option in there, an S3 option. Go ahead and click on that. So that should be your bucket name. In my case, mine is Capstone. When you click on it, a little warning message should pop up and say, do you want to use the website endpoint? Yes, click that. And it will slightly modify the link. And that's just Cloudfront understanding that you're using a static website in S3 and updating the endpoint. Okay. And then just leave everything as is. That's really it. That's all you need to configure for Cloudfront. I'm going to quickly talk about some of the extra options just so you're aware. There is a huge section on caching, and this just lets you tailor how you want the files to be distributed. Then down below in settings, you can restrict where your files are served from. So we're going to leave this set to all edge locations. I know on the slide, I say to use the North America and Europe class. Just leave this set to the all edge locations. Okay. And then we're going to actually request an SSL certificate. So this is where we add that encryption that we just got done talking about. We want to secure our website so that when eventually when you upload your capstone and start serving your capstone from this Cloudfront, your capstone will also have that same encryption. So we're going to set it up now to practice with for the blog. Eventually, this will just work for your capstone. But for right now, we're going to leave all of this alone and just hit create distribution.
Could you quickly run through the settings on that page again?
Yeah, sure. I'll go back to distributions and create another one. So the first part, setting the origin domain, point this at your S3 bucket. And then when it pops up the warning asking if you want to use the website endpoint, yes, click that. There's a whole bunch of additional stuff up here at the top, but the default cache behavior, that's just to customize. This is for the performance and optimization folks out there. This is just to set how the Cloudfront is going to hold on to your files and for how long. We're not going to touch that for right now. We're just going to let the defaults work. And then down in the settings section, you can customize in which data centers, in which regions your website is replicated to or is made available in. We're going to use all the edge locations because that's going to be the fastest. But you can also restrict this down to certain geographical areas. And then lastly, there's the ability to apply an SSL certificate, and we're going to dive into that here in a minute. But at this point, you should have created a distribution just using those default settings, and it should just take a minute for that to deploy. And it might, in my case, I didn't have to wait for it to completely deploy. I was able to just copy the distribution domain name. So from the distributions page, click on your distribution. It's got that funky numbers and letters. From that, click on your distribution, look on the details. There should be a distribution domain name. It should end with cloudfront.net. If you take that and throw that into your URL, once again, you should be at your front end website. So we've taken S3, we've put it behind CloudFront. Now CloudFront is sitting in front of S3. So we have our S3 bucket and then CloudFront right in front of it. So we technically now we have two URLs to be able to reach the same front end code. Questions so far?
Yeah, mine says it can't be reached.
And you're pasting that distribution domain name, that thing that you found on the details?
Yeah, I clicked on the little squares and it said, oh, wait, my page just reloaded. Now it's showing.
Perfect. Yeah, so it takes the CloudFront distribution a second for it to replicate through all of those data centers that are in AWS.
I have a quick question.
Yep.
So now that this CloudFront URL, I guess we'll call it, is active now, is the other one still accessible? Like if say somehow
Yes.
someone was able to get a hold of that other one, like, and they use that, would they be able to, in that case, would they be accessing the server or the information without CloudFront?
Yes. Yep. And so we won't use those URLs because we're about to get to the point where we secure our where we add TLS, where we add encryption to our front end. So we won't share those URLs with our customers. We'll actually wire these up to our Namecheap domains, and that's when we'll put the TLS security on top of it.
So do we like
Thanks.
throw it away, hide it, just keep it somewhere away from the public?
Yep, just keep it for now. It's we're still debugging. We're still working on our front end. These are just for us to sanity check and make sure, okay, have we set things up right? Do we have is our front end working? So far so good. But I will point out that again, we still have this problem where we have no encryption. We have our connection is not secure. And we can try to throw oh, well, look at that. I didn't know that Cloudfront actually did that for us. So Cloudfront does have an SSL certificate. But the next step here is putting this in front of our domain names that we've bought on Namecheap. Remember that we're going to practice with the blog. We're going to upload blog code, but we're actually going to use all of this stuff to host our capstone. So what I want us to do is to take our Namecheap names and link them up to Cloudfront. So what will happen is the domains that we bought for our capstone through Namecheap, we're going to use those to access our website on Cloudfront. Does that make sense? Now, who does not have a domain name for their capstone? Okay, we got one.
I mean, I created one for the portfolio, not a capstone. So I just used the portfolio one.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to suggest. Brian, do you have a domain for your capstone? Or sorry, for your portfolio?
No, I don't have one for either. I mean, it's something I can get one in the meantime.
Okay.
Just need yeah.
So, Brian, can you go buy one right now?
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to do. I was like pulling up the website and I gotta grab my card, but yeah. In the meantime, you can go ahead, man. I'll catch up. Don't slow down on my cord, please.
Okay. Well, it's a shame because this is going to get a little bit involved, but it's all there in the slides. And I'm happy to follow
it's
later,
all
too.
good. I'll follow along, and I'll definitely chime in if I need help. Thank you.
Cool. All right. So we're going to set up the SSL certificate, and we're going to link our domain to our CloudFront. So, all right. So this is a little bit complicated, but follow along with me, and we will get through this. So the way that we're going to do this is we're going to start off in CloudFront. From CloudFront, click on Edit. So we're going to go back into the settings for our distribution. So you should be looking at similar settings to when you created it.
We're clicking on edit on settings in the CloudFront.
Yep. So you should be on your distribution, the distribution that you just made. There's an edit button over here on the right. Here in settings. Yep. Okay. So no surprise, we're going to go down here to the SSL certificate section, and we're going to click request certificate. And if you weren't able to find that settings page, here is a direct link to what I'm looking at on my screen. This is actually going to be a great one to end on tonight because it takes a little bit of time for the certificate to get created. So this will be a good one for us to set up and then look at next week when we come back next week.
Sorry, I'm supposed to go to choose certificate? For
So
certificate?
probably the easiest thing to do is just click the link in Zoom chat. That will also take you to the same page. All right. So once you're on this page, we're going to request a certificate. So leave it checked. Leave the request a public certificate part checked. Okay. And then in the fully qualified domain name box, this is where we're going to enter in the name, the domain name that we bought from Namecheap. I'm gonna go and log into Namecheap just to remind myself of all the domains that I've got. Okay. I'm actually going to use the old cohort 3 domain instead of cohort 4. Okay. Whatever your domain name is, remember, we're going to practice with the blog, but all this will eventually be used for your capstone. So whatever domain you want to use for your capstone, and if you don't have one just for your capstone, use the portfolio domain that you bought.
So I just bought one for yesterday or 2 days ago for the capstone itself that doesn't have my name on. Am I supposed to go into manage and do something before I use it?
No, we will get all that figured out.
So just copy the domain name and put it where.
Yep. So for example, my domain, I'm going to use the old cohort 3 domain that I have. I'm going to put exactly that in, cohort3.com. So whatever yours is, put in just the name.com.
So how easy is it to change domains for this? Because I'm using the domain I got. Go ahead.
It's going to be difficult-ish. Because requesting an SSL certificate takes a couple of steps. So try to pick something that you think will work for your capstone demo.
Okay.
But if you don't like if you don't like the domain that you currently have, just use whatever you've got, and then either come to office hours or schedule 15 minutes with me, and I'll help you rewire it to another domain if you don't like it.
Thank you.
All right. So you should have your domain name in there. Click the add another name to the certificate. Not only are we going to add the domain that you bought, but we're also going to add the www version of it too. So we're going to have a total of 2 fully qualified domain names entered up in here. That's it. So this is all we need right now to request the TLS certificate. So we'll go down to the bottom once you have your domain name and the www version of your domain name. Once you have those 2 things, go ahead, go to the bottom, hit request. You might have to refresh this page in order to get to see all the certificate requests. And I've got a couple on here. You should only see, you should really only see the one. And if you click on it, it will say something like pending validation.
So I completely don't remember my domain name.
That's okay. Log into Namecheap. Go refresh yourself on what your domain name is.
Yeah, I have to reset it. I don't know where I put that. I'm embarrassed to say it, but I really don't.
The login for Namecheap?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's probably one of my.
Hey Nate, just real quick, I bought my my website name. Where about in the slides should I start? I was kind of following, like, kind of peripherally, but like yeah, but
You
where
are
about in the slides? Oh, I'm sorry.
just, you're good. Just click on the last, do you see the last link that I posted in Zoom chat?
One sec.
This certificate request link.
Okay, yep, I just pulled that up.
Yeah, so click on that link. When that
Okay.
pops up, click next.
Okay. And put in my domain name.
Put your domain name in .com or whatever your domain is.
Okay.
And then add another name to the certificate and do the www version of it.
Okay. Okay.
And then once you have those two things added, so looking something similar to what I've got in the format on my screen, just hit request and you're right along with us. And when you hit request, it might show nothing on the certificates list. You might have to refresh that page once, and then there should be something there that says pending validation. If you click onto that, it will show you your pending certificate request.
I haven't seen anything pop up yet, but I remember you said it takes a little while to populate. I refreshed it a couple of times.
Do you want to just share your screen real quick?
Sure.
Okay. And then just give this a quick refresh.
All right.
There are no certificates in your account. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I went through should I do another request?
Yeah, let's just do another request just to make sure it goes through. Yep, request.
Okay.
Yep, next.
Okay. Paste. Okay.
Perfect. Yep. Perfect. All right, down at the bottom. Request. There it is.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Nice. Hopefully
All right,
we didn't
thank
get a duplicate. Hopefully we weren't being too impatient. Let me know
I
if
did.
that
I have two.
you have two now. Can
Yeah.
you click on one and hit delete? Check mark one of them, hit delete.
It says to confirm deletion. Okay, just type delete.
Yes, Jordan.
I'm not getting anything either when I do it.
You know that you made a request for a certificate.
Yeah.
Okay. It honestly might just be a little bit of lag time because apparently if we don't wait long
Yeah,
enough,
depending
to
how long you. I would say mine took at least like a couple of minutes to show up. So
Never mind. Mine
it feels
showed
like
up.
longer than that.
I'm a piece of shit.
Nice. AWS is 14 billion something in revenue, but it takes 2 minutes for ACM to show up a new certificate request. Anyways, all right. So if you've got the certificate request in, that means that AWS is going to generate a certificate on your behalf. The only condition is that you have to prove that you own the domain that you're trying to issue the request for. So, for example, mine says I'm pending validation. Everybody should say that they're pending validation. So what we have to do is we have to prove that we own the domain in order to get the SSL certificate to be generated. And the way that we do that is we're going to create some special DNS records on our domain to prove to Amazon that we control it. And that's what all this data down in this table does. There's these, it's telling us that it wants us to create CNAME records that contain these values in order to prove that we own the domain. And then AWS will say, okay, cool, I know you own it. I'll issue a certificate for it. So how do we do this? How do we prove that we own these domains? Well, we have to go over to Namecheap and we have to do some stuff in that advanced DNS tab, like we did way back when we were generating TLS certificates for GitHub pages. Does everybody remember that whole fiasco? Does everybody have nightmares about it still? This will be better. Trust me, it's not a patronizing checkbox that we like have to keep clicking. This will be a bit better. So what we need to do is go ahead, Jennifer.
Quick question. I've got my domain name, DNS validation chosen. The algorithm is default to RSA 2048.
Yes, leave all of that stuff default. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. And then, so what we need to do is we need to go over to Namecheap and enter some stuff in over there. So let's go and sign into Namecheap, go to your domain, wherever it is. And I'll just start off by clicking on my dashboard. And then there's that manage button. Remember, we clicked on this last time when we were doing the GitHub stuff. So find your domain, click manage on it. And we're going to go over to the advanced DNS tab. If the advanced DNS tab isn't showing up for you in Namecheap, when you click on your domain, there is this name servers box. Make sure that's selected to basic DNS. Is everybody able to get back to their advanced DNS? I know it's been a while since we visited this neck of the woods. Okay. Jennifer, do you have your hand raised?
Oh, I always think it's going to go away on its own. Why it would do that. All right. What do we select in advanced DNS?
Yep, advanced DNS, yep.
Mhm.
So for my domain, I've got some stuff in here. I don't need any of that because we're going to point this domain at our CloudFront. So to start with a clean slate, if you have any DNS records in there, if you have anything showing up in this box, just delete it. We won't need it. Okay. Keep following with me, folks. I know this is getting to be pretty tedious here, but we're almost there. So once you've deleted those records, we need to add some records that prove that we own this domain to AWS. To do that, we're going to enter in those CNAME records that we had on this previous page. We're going to enter those into the DNS, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So from the Namecheap side, click Add New Record. It's going to show a bunch of different types of records. We're going to scroll down, and we're going to add a CNAME record. Okay, then we're going to pause and flip back to CloudFront. Or sorry, not CloudFront. We're going to flip back to the certificate manager window.
I'm sorry, real quick. I missed. Where did you find the add new record? Where was that button?
Yeah, so in Namecheap, are you on the advanced DNS tab?
I am.
Are you able to see a add new record there in the middle of the screen? Okay, so go back to the domain tab. And then tell me, what do you see in the name servers box in the middle of the screen? what does it say right about here?
Go ahead, Brian.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had already said I found it. Yeah, I found the add new record when you pointed that out.
Okay.
I was over from that. Yeah.
What
I
about
thought
you,
you-
Jennifer?
I have the DNS1 registrar servers and DNS2.
So can you change this box to basic DNS? Namecheap basic DNS?
Okay.
All right, and then click back on the advanced DNS tab. Now do you see add new record?
No.
You want to share your screen real quick? Because other folks might be seeing the same thing too. All right, advanced DNS. So I don't think we're there yet. Switch back to the domain. Yep. Switch down, change this. Custom DNS, name servers, change this.
You know what?
Namecheap basic, yep.
Well,
And then click
we
that.
changed it, but oh, that's why. Okay.
Yeah, it's that fantastic UX.
It was
Okay,
so-
scroll down.
Okay, check mark. I changed it. All right. Now I can
Scroll
probably
back to the top. Yep, advanced DNS. And there you go. And if you want, you can nuke that existing alias record.
Okay.
Pointing at the old GitHub pages. Perfect. All right. And then just to make sure that we're at the same starting point, you can close out of that old new record that's already opened up there. Okay, cool. And then switch. Yep, hit add new record. Pick C name. So scroll down a little bit in that box.
CAA record.
Scroll down with your scroll. There you go. C name record.
Okay.
And you're all caught up. Archel.
Yeah, I'm behind. And
No worries.
all right. So on my AWS, right?
Yep.
I did the certificate request thing. So on my screen, I have certificate ID, domain name, type, status, in use, renewal eligibility, key algorithm. But that's all I have on there. I didn't see the other stuff you had.
Can you share your screen?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. So you've got two certificate requests. Which one are we working on? The coupon clip or draw?
I just created this, within the last like 10 minutes. I'd rather use this one.
All right. Is it actually .code? Is that the TLD?
Yeah, .co, yes.
All right. So click on it, the certificate ID. And you are now at the page that we're looking at. So scroll down a little bit. And this is where the CNAME records that we're about to copy over are.
All right. So do I now copy this?
So leave this and you're all caught up. Just show me the Namecheap. Do you have that advanced DNS open for the coupon clip co? Do you have Namecheap open to that?
Up here I do.
All right, so go down and click on the manage for couponclip.co. Yep. Click manage. Yep. Then I'll bet you also, oh, you have basic DNS. Cool. Click the advanced DNS page. So everybody should have that certificate request in AWS open and this advanced. And while we're here, go just delete out these old records you got. We don't need those. Yep. Perfect. And then click add new record. And we're scroll down a little bit till you get a CNAME record in that box. So put your mouse right, go back up, put your mouse over this box.
Here?
Put your mouse over this scroll box here, scroll down. scroll. There you go. CNAME. Perfect. You're all caught up. We're about to enter in those values.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Let me go back to share. Anybody else? I think we're all at the same point. So we've got our name sheet
My-
box. Good.
My domain is apparently invalid.
Do you want to share your screen real quick?
Mhm.
Domain is invalid. Do you have a trailing? Yeah, EV now site. Okay, go back to AWS. And then do you have white space in there by chance?
Let me see. Oh, wow. Okay.
Nice. Scroll down at the bottom. Request. Refresh. Did you get it? You got it. Nice. Cool. Anybody else? All right. So we should be at the point where we have the AWS certificate request over in one browser, and then in another browser, we've got our advanced DNS. So we are adding a new record. We're going to start off by creating a CNAME record. CNAME records take two values. They take a host and a target, or a host and a value. We have two CNAME records to create. So back on the AWS side, we're going to copy all of that CNAME record all the way up into the first dot. All we care about is this first part that you see on my screen right here. We don't care about all of this. We just want to copy that funky numbers and letters all the way up, but not including the dot. So grab that. Let's copy it to our clipboard. Come back over to Namecheap. That's going to be our host. Okay. So we're grabbing this first part all the way up into that dot, but not including the dot. It's going to go in the very first CNAME record. The value is going to be everything in this value box. So you can either copy this yourself, or you can click that little button to get the value. That's going to go in the target, the value box here. Once you have that, click the green checkbox, and you've got the first CNAME record created. And we're going to repeat this process one more time. We're going to add a total of two CNAME records. So create another CNAME record. And then we're going to do the same thing for the one down below here. Grab up into but also including the www. So I'm going to do all of this right here, what you see on my screen.
Are we supposed to have more than one CNAME?
Yes. So when you created the certificate request, we were adding two things.
Got it.
Including the www, but not the dot.
Exactly, including the www, but not the dot after the www. Yes.
I'll request another one.
Yeah, go ahead and request another one. And when you request it for two domain names, your domain name and then your www version.
What tab do we paste it into under Namecheap?
Yeah, we're throwing this into the Namecheap under CNAME records and Namecheap.
How do I get to that?
So open up your domain in Namecheap.
Yep.
Click the manage, and then the advanced DNS tab up at the top right.
Yep.
Do you see add new record?
I do not. Add new record right there.
Yep.
Alias?
The type is CNAME record, and you kind of have to scroll down in that box to get down to the CNAME record.
Yep. And then host is gonna be that first one you said?
Yeah, so let me show you really, you got to be really careful here. So you're grabbing what I have selected on my screen. You're
Okay.
grabbing everything up into the first dot. That's going to go in the first box. Oops.
This is not responsive for some reason.
Yeah, it's not responsive if you grab too much. If you paste the entire CNAME into that box over on Namecheap, the Namecheap UI will like hang because it's like you've given me something wrong.
Okay, and then the target is what?
The target is the entire contents of the CNAME value box. So you can grab that by clicking the little copy icon, or you can just copy that whole thing. Throw it in over there.
Of the CNAME value box?
Mhm.
Okay. And then check mark.
Yep, and then check mark to create that first CNAME record. Then for the second one, you have two, right?
Now I have a second one.
Yep, okay. So go back to AWS, and this is what you're going to grab. You're going to grab that same hash, that same series of letters and numbers up to and including the www. So it should look like weird hash dot www. Grab that, go back over to Namecheap, and paste that into the host box.
You said just the www or the www dot?
It should look like what I have highlighted on my screen. You should have all of this
Okay.
up into the
Yep.
www.
How did you make it say www?
Good question. And I think that's where I think that's why you didn't get this extra entry.
Yeah, I missed it.
And then the same full thing for CNAME value for the second one?
Exactly. Wholesale. Copy and paste the whole thing over there to the value and then hit that green check mark and you're all set. Jennifer, when you request the certificate and you get to this page, you click next. When you get to the FQDN box, you type in your domain name, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do that, but then also add another name and prepend www to it.
Okay, so can I edit one of mine?
After you've made the request, you can't. Just go and request another one using your domain, but then also add that www to it, and we'll delete the old one.
Okay. Yeah, I have a few. All right. Request.
Well, just use the one that you want to use for your capstone. We aren't trying to issue SSL certificates for all the domains you have. Can I just get a quick sanity check, a quick thumbs up for folks that were able to do this successfully, create those CNAME records? Brian. Naj, nice. Alba, thank you. Polite. Oh, perfect. Nice. Artrell, how are you doing?
What the hell am I?
It's
I think-
complicated.
Damn it, I wasn't even muted. Never mind. I think I'm getting it. I think
Okay.
I got.
So here's the frustrating part. DNS takes a long time, not a long time. It takes some time to propagate. So we've set these records up on the Namecheap side, how AWS wants us to do it. So we've set it up according to how AWS wants us to do it. Now all we have to do is wait for AWS to go and look and see if they're correct. If they're correct, then AWS will go, cool. I know that you own this domain because you have the ability to create those records. And the only person that's able to create those records is the person that owns the domain. So So unfortunately, this takes a little bit of time for things to propagate and click. Some of you might already have a TLS certificate, and the way to know if you have a certificate is, let me share my screen one more time. This pending validation on your certificate request will go from pending validation to issued. So it will go from that kind of gray box to being a green check mark. And
While we're waiting, can I share my screen real quick?
yeah, sure.
I'll be very brief. I have one question. So you're going to kill me, but I did mine through Google domains.
Mhm.
And I just want to know, does data, is that the same thing as value or?
Looks perfect.
Okay,
looks
so this
exactly
should work.
exactly right. Yep.
Great, thank you.
Just make sure to hit save, and then I think you're
Yep.
going to be in the same bind as us, where it's going to take time for it to propagate. That looks right.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
There we are.
So they're both C names.
They're both CNAME records. Yep.
Okay. Slowly but surely getting there.
Cool. Well, so for the folks that got it, that's it for tonight. If there's anybody that wants to hang around and continue to work on certificates and make sure that they have it set up correctly, feel free to hang around. But what we have to do at this point is really just wait. And it can take from minutes to sometimes hours for AWS to verify that we own those domains. When we come back on Monday, we'll come in and check and make sure that those requests filled are completed. And then we'll start on our backend deploys, and we will start working on getting a complete round trip from visiting the website as a user of the blog, all the way to logging in, all the way to making the database calls. So I know that a lot of this is what's the word for it? It's not really technical. It's more like busy work, right? Like we have all these things we have to click and all of these boxes to check and all of these configuration values. And I know that it's a lot of tedious stuff. That's why the slides are there. They really recap everything that I've walked us through. So I appreciate all of you hanging in there. When we get done with the blog, it should be as easy as replacing the files that we have for the blog with your capstone, and then we'll be done. So we're setting this up one time, and then after that, we'll be able to use this going forward. So again, I really appreciate your patience, because this is kind of a point and click adventure sometimes when we're having to wire up all these tedious bits together.
And then Nathan, for other projects, we would go in and make a new bucket and just do the same process?
Yes. Yes. Some of these things can be sped up. In fact, all of the point and click things that we're doing, can actually be done in code. If you come to office hours, I'll be happy to talk about this, but there's actually a programming language that lets you do all of the things that you did in the UI, going to S3, creating a bucket, typing out that policy, enabling static hosting, going to Cloudfront, requesting certificates, all those things that we did point and click with our mouse, and actually automate. We can actually script all of that using a language called Terraform. If you're interested in that, come to office hours, because in the DevOps community, we very rarely come in here and click all these buttons. We just let computers generate this stuff for us. So if you're interested in that, and that sounds interesting to you, come to office hours. I'd love to show you how to set these things up quicker. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and let people go. If you want to stay and continue to work on the certificate request because you have questions or you just want an extra set of eyes, feel free to hang around. Otherwise, that's it for tonight. And I hope you have a great weekend and see you on Monday.
All right, thanks, Nate. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, see y'all.
I have a question, Nathan. So I just have
Yes.
like two questions. So do we really put the backend code or not? Like, is it safe to put the backend code in the server, like AWS? Is it common?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's
Okay.
definitely common. We are not going to put our backend code in S3.
Okay.
If we put our backend code into S3, people would be able to download our backend code, which we don't really want. Our backend code is private. We want that to run on servers we control. So, but yeah, in fact, that's like what I'm spitballing here, but I would say the majority of code running on AWS is backend code and probably not front end code.
Oh, okay.
It's totally safe. Yeah.
So do we, second question is, do we need to buy a domain for each and every project we do, or like how it works?
Yeah, good question. No. So like take, for example, Facebook. Facebook.com is one domain, right? But Facebook is not one app. It's not one front end project and one back end project, right? It's a ton of front end projects. Like, I mean, Facebook is massive, right? So you can have one domain and tons of applications behind that one domain. Really, when you get into that situation, you'll have one domain and then you'll have a load balancer that's splitting up traffic based on where you go. So like facebook.com/friends might actually be taking you to a backend service just for friends. Facebook.com/jobs would take you to like a jobs page, etc., or route you to a jobs backend.
Thank you.
Great question. Short answer is no. You can use one domain for a lot of things. Anybody else got questions?
Artrell, is your hand up?
Yeah, for some reason you can't see my hand in the palm tree. I guess I should lighten my hand up again or something. I don't know.
No, go ahead.
Make
Go for
sure
it.
that my I'm where I need to be, if I may share my screen.
Yes, please. I'm going to stop recording for.
All right.